Hi everyone, thank you for being here today. So I'm going to present you, I'm going to present you the DeepSquare project. So we were there also yesterday. We did a workshop on MLOps platform, but today I'm going to talk about something which is underneath all this, which is a decentralized compute cloud. So the title of the presentation is Infinite Compute Resources Scaling at Your Fingertips. This is because we are creating an interoperability layer between different cloud providers all over the world. And that's what I will try to explain to you today. So we are building the first and only sustainable, professional, decentralized, high-performance computing cloud. So this looks complex, and you don't wake up one day and you say, I will build this. You need to come up to something. Something needs to bring you there. So I will tell you from my perspective what brought me to this, and then conclude a bit with what we are actually providing and where we are. So let's start. So I was a PhD student back in 2016, and I did a project in robotics and exoskeleton control. And the goal was to make paraplegics walk again. And what we were doing there, instead of having very simple controller for the movement, what we were actually doing is to use simulation to model the brain and how the brain actually creates movement in the spinal cord. And we were using a lot of simulation, a lot of computing for that. And we were able to generate controllers that were seamlessly, sorry for this. Yeah, we also pee. So here you can just see a small example. So here I have 8 kilograms on each leg, and I can walk seamlessly, like if I would have nothing in my legs. And this is thanks to all those controllers that we could train in simulation. So during this PhD, what I could understand is that if you use computers in the right way, you can actually do great things, and you can really do some things that can have a real impact in the life. We did this. We applied this to more than 20 different subjects with different types of lesion in the spinal cord. And there I understood that you can do a lot with GPUs and compute. And then during my PhD, I met a guy called Lilo, who is now the head of infrastructure of the DeepSquare project. And the story is quite funny, because what happened is that I was always talking about this decentralization of the world, the blockchain. This was 2017. And I had a friend, a roommate, and he was telling to me, I don't understand anything about what you say, but I have a friend, and he talks the same than you, and I also don't understand what he says. You need to meet. And we met, and we decided to build a mining farm. So the idea was to use those GPUs. It was easy, because when you do mining, you don't need to find customers. When you do mining, you just plug in your GPUs, and then you generate revenue. So it was a very easy way to get into the market. Everybody was rushing. It was 2017. The last bull run of the crypto. And we built a 40,000 GPU mining farm in the north of Sweden. I will show you a small video of how this looked like. Going in north of Sweden is not easy. You have 6 months of light and 6 months of night. You know, it's really above the polar circle. You can see that there. And the story is that we started to build these mining farms in Switzerland using renewable energy, because we knew that mining was not really sustainable. So we were trying to do our best to make something useful. And then we got a contact with this Chinese company that was in the stock market, and that wanted to build this gigantic mining farm with 40,000 GPU. And they chose us to do this, to build this, to also do the purchase and everything. So we ended up with a lot of friends that are now actually working with us to build this big mining farm. And there we understood that when you have 40,000 GPUs and 2 megawatt, all the energy that you are generating is actually only heat. So you generate 2 megawatt of heat, and you make no use of that. You just throw it to the atmosphere. So yes, we are in north of Sweden. They all are cold, so they are not super sad about that, but still. And the other thing also is about the noise. When the wind was going in the direction of this little village, you couldn't hear yourself because of the noise, because of all the ventilators. So by building this, we understood that this is not the right way of building infrastructure. Yet you can do much better than that. And what we now do is that we have this blueprint immersion cooling system. So what is immersion cooling is that you have non-conductive oil, and you put your cars directly into the oil. And so you remove all the fans, you remove every single thing that makes noise, and you just put them in the oil. So you increase the density by 8 times, and by increasing this density, then what you get is something very powerful, but also something where you can reuse the heat. So water to water, you can get 95% recovery. If you would do air, it's more something like 60%. And with air, if you go 10 meters on a pipe, you lose almost everything. With water, it's not the case. So we had those small things. They are maybe big from here to here. It's maybe 1.5 million, 1 unit. And with that, you can generate 50, 60 kilowatt of water. So you can use that to actually heat up a building. So that's what then brought us to the next level. And the other thing I didn't say here is that we had 40,000 GPU. And I was finishing my PhD, I had some students working with me, and we were like, let's try to do something useful with those GPUs. Let's try to use them for AI, for example. And so they were there building the infra, all the data centers, and they were trying to do some tests. And the thing is that when we did the purchase to NVIDIA with those 40,000 GPU, they actually changed the kernel, the BIOS. And they prevented to use more, for people that know, more than one PCI Express line, which means that basically they were useless for AI. So we had those 40,000 GPU, and you cannot do anything with that. So this was like mind-blowing. And we decided to just take a step back. Mining was going down. We knew that there were other ways of doing decentralization solution, like proof of stake, where you don't need any GPU. So we wanted to do something where we would use all this infrastructure knowledge that we had, and then basically do AI with that, or do things at least that are useful, more useful than mining. And that's what brings me now to the DeepSquare project. So the way we built that is that instead of doing a company, we decided to do an association. So this means that the share of this cloud is not belonging to a company. This is an association, and the association cannot do profit, which means that all the profit that would be generated by this tokenized cloud would go to the token holder. So anyone that has token is actually a shareholder of this company. So if this goes somewhere, and we can be the next, like European Amazon, then all the people that manage to get this token are actually shareholder of this cloud. And we can use that to create incentive mechanism for all the people that are working with us. So let me show you a small video. You will have it with my voice, but this is a video which is on YouTube with the nice voice of a woman. But today you will have myself. So this is the world with a centralized model, where you have the bank in the center, and everything works like that, right? We purchase, and we always go through those centralized infrastructure. And then we had this blockchain coming, where they were saying, we will decentralize the world. We will make everything decentralized. And then you go deeper, and you see all the blockchains, Avalanche, Solana, Ethereum, Binance. But when you go deeper, you have to ask yourself, where is this running, right? Where is this running? And when you check, everything is running. Now that you don't need GPU, everything is running on Amazon, Azure, and Google. So it means that all those decentralized solutions are actually not decentralized at all. You have single point of failure. If Amazon tells you, or US government tells you, no, we don't want proof of stake, all those blockchain will go down. And that's what we want to solve with DeepSquare, is to provide a decentralized, resilient grid that can be the cloud, the compute cloud, let's say, of the future. So you see how this would work. We will have a lot of different entities, small, very small pods that can be in different buildings, and that run this software that we call Cluster Factory, which is open source. And then with this Cluster Factory, you can basically resell your compute. And by selling your compute, you make money. So it means that any local cloud provider that you have out there, or any electricity company that wants to do something innovative in terms of smart cities and reuse the heat, can actually work with us. And what we can do with that, we can clearly handle the blockchain layer. We can do things like rendering movies. Clearly, AI is a very important target for us, robotics and smart cities as well. And all that is things that we want to be able to provide with the DeepSquare project. Now, one thing which is important to mention is this sustainability thing. When you go then in the smart city level and you start to make it smaller, then you can get closer to where you actually need the heat. And by doing that, what you can do is actually do something very useful, because all the heat generated is actually used to reduce the consumption that you have for electricity or for gas. And when you see all the things that are happening now in the world, it makes sense to do things like that. And we have proof of concept in Basel, in Switzerland, where the electric company of Basel basically told us that they want to test this. They had those pods, and they just wanted to have hardware inside. And they tried that with another company, it didn't work. And now they are doing this with us, and we have one proof of concept running with them, another proof of concept running in Sion in Switzerland as well. And the interesting thing is that they have 1,000 locations available to us. So the only thing we need to show to them is that we can have the demand. Because if we have the demand, then it's very easy. They install those things, we pay them for what is being used, and it works. So the tactic that we are using here is to collaborate with tier 2 cloud provider so that we can build something which is strong in terms of SLA and all these kind of things, but at the same time being able to answer to this demand, and then with that, going back to the smart city setting and then multiply these blueprint clusters that we are developing. So I was super fast, really, like electricity. So I hope you understood that cloud is the engine of all this story. But since we are building this as a community, you are the fuel. And who is the fuel? The fuel is people that are using compute, so all the AI startups that are now leveraging existing cloud infrastructure. By going through a project like DeepSquare, basically they don't care where their compute is happening because we are creating this interoperability layer. And if you need to scale and we don't scale fast enough, then we will go to the centralized big cloud. Why? Because if a customer is able to go from 1,000 customers to 100,000 customers, and then he goes to 10 million, and we tell him, no, sorry, we cannot because we don't go to centralized cloud, doesn't make sense. It's not that we are against Amazon, we are against those guys. No, we just think that we can make something stronger and make use of them only when we need them. And so if you want to be part of this journey, please get your seat. Thank you.